Okay. All right, so the next item on the agenda here is talk about surveys. And really, surveys, it's just like the problem we had in the previous part there, only formed in the context of a survey or something like a survey. You know, the information is not precisely in the set form, but it's very similar how we work this as to how we worked the previous problem there. Yeah, in this particular case, we've got a survey, and on the handout there, it states a group of students in Arizona is what this survey is about, and this is what they like in particular types of music. 35 like classical, 46 like jazz, so on. So we're quizzing them on classical, whether they like classical, jazz, or rock. That was the three that they surveyed on in this case. And then we've got some other information along the way. The first question is, how many were surveyed? And unfortunately, the answer is not just add up all the numbers, because there's overlap amongst these groups. For example, 35 of them like classical. Well, that's not saying they only like classical. These 35 could have liked, some of them could have liked jazz, some of them could have liked rock. So there's overlap amongst these numbers. That's the whole problem. Okay, you can't just add up all these numbers and get the answer to that how many are surveyed question. No, as my hint suggests there, we need to use a Venn diagram. And how many circles do you think we should put on this little Venn diagram? Well, we've got classical, we've got jazz, and we've got rock. So 3 circles? Seems to be in order? I think so. Okay. So a classical and a jazz and a rock circle, just like we had in the previous problem, 3 circles. All right, well, again, we can't start very well on the 35 liking classical, because the classical includes 4 different parts, doesn't it? So we're going to divvy up 35, but there's a lot of ways you can divvy up 35 4 ways. So we can't start there or here or here. And what about, can we start at this one, 11 like classical and jazz? Can't do that either, because that's the overlap of the classical and jazz circle, and there's 2 parts to it. Now, where do we have to go? Right here, isn't it? 5 of them liked all 3, so that's where all 3 overlap. It's right in the middle, isn't it? Those 5 all go there. All right, well, having those, then where can we go? Okay, go to none of the 3. 7 like none of the 3. We can do that one, because where do those go? They'd have to go outside. If they didn't like classical or rock or jazz, they would have to go on the outside. Somewhere, it doesn't matter where you put it, but on the outside. Okay, good. Now where? Well, there's a couple of them we go to now. We can go back to this one, the 11. Let's look at that. We can go back to that one now, because it says 11 like classical and jazz. And we already said that that includes 2 parts. The overlap of the classical and jazz is 11. So it's these 2 that are 11, right? I know this is 5, so what has this be? That has to be 6. If the total of the classical and jazz overlap is 11, 5 of them are here, then 6 of them have to go here, right? Okay. Another one down. Now where? Well, we've got a similar one for classical and rock. 15 like classical and rock, so the overlap of classical and rock is 15. That's these 2, isn't it? These 2 right here. So if that's 5, then this must be 10. With me so far? So far, so good? Okay. Now where can we go? Just looking through it. See anywhere we can go?
Rock and jazz.
Rock but not jazz? Yeah. That one's a little different. 20. Let's think about it. 25 like rock but not jazz. What does that mean? Well, that would mean in our Venn diagram there that they're in the rock circle but outside of the jazz circle. So they're in the rock circle, but they can't be in the jazz circle, so that shrinks it down. And you're right, we can actually do that. So they're in the rock circle but not in the jazz circle, so isn't that these two? It's the ones that are outside the jazz circle. Rock but not jazz would be this part and then this part, this moon shape here, the 10 and the whatever. Well, it says that has to be 25. Since that's 10, then this has to be 15, doesn't it? Is everybody okay on that? See where I got the 15? All right. So another one down. 3 more to go. Where can we go now? How about the 35? Can we do the 35? 35 like classical. That's the total of the classical circle. Well, the classical circle is 4 parts. I've got 3 parts. The 6, the 5, and the 10 is 21. So if all 4 have to be 35, then this has to be 14, doesn't it? The 35 minus the 21. So that was down. Notice we still can't do the 46 yet because that's the jazz circle, and the jazz circle, well, there's 2 pieces missing still. So we still can't do it, so it must be the 45 that liked rock. We can do it, can't we? The rock circle has to be total 45. That's this, this, and this. All 4 of those. So I've got 10, 50, that's 30, isn't it? These 3 have to be 30. So this has to be 15 again. Another 15 right here. Because these 3 are 30, so that has to be 15. Which then opens up the jazz one. Because now I have 3 of the 4. This, this, and this. That's 11. That's 26 for those 3. So that must be 20 out there. Now, how does that help us in this question here? Well, the question is, how many were surveyed? Well, how would I figure that out now that I've got the Venn diagram? Don't I just add up all the pieces now? Because these 7 are different than these 14, and those are different than those 6. Yeah, each one of these numbers represents different people because there's no overlap now. I've got the overlap all lined out. None of these 14 overlap with any of... So yeah. How many were surveyed? Add up all the numbers. 7, 14, 6, 20, 10, 5, 15, another 15. Is that 8 of them? Whatever that totals out to be is my answer. Let's see, I've got a couple of 20s. There's 30, 70. I'm getting 92. Somebody check me on that, though. My calculations are right. Did you do it? 92?
No, I didn't.
Well, that's 20, that's 40, and that's 30. So I get 70, and then the 15 and the 7 would be, it's 92. All right, I'll add them. 92, okay. Somebody got it. I'll check it, though. Ah, okay. All right. So that's that one. Now, I've got a couple other questions for you. Number 2 through 7 on the handout there. So let's get to that. All right, number 2. How many liked rock or jazz? 25? Well, let's see.
Running the answers from what's already there.
Now this is or. Yeah.
Or.
Yeah, this is or. There's a difference, isn't there? Remember or? Yeah. Or and. Yeah. Rock and jazz is 25, yeah.
20.
Well, we don't. But anyway. Or. Yeah, remember, there's a difference between or and. Or means what? Just mentioned it a little bit ago in another part there, but or means union. Or means union in sets. It's one or the other. It's in one or the other, so that's union. So I need to add up for number 2, the number in rock or jazz. I need to add together everything in the union of rock and jazz. Well, the union in the Venn diagram, from the Venn diagram. Yes, you're looking at the Venn diagram. I'm looking at the union from the Venn diagram. So what's in the union of this Venn diagram? Well, it's everything in R. Union's everything in R, everything in jazz. Now, I only count things once, so I've got 10. In rock, I've got 10, 5, and 2 15s.
So we're even including in classical.
Yeah. Yeah, the classical, some of them are in the classical, but that's okay. Rock or jazz means everything in rock. These are in rock, right? The 10 are in rock, so they're included. That includes everything in rock and everything in jazz. So I want to include the 10, the 5, the 15, the 15, and then what else? Everything in jazz. I've already got the 5 and the 15, so I don't want to do those again. Just 6 and 20 again. That's the ones I would add together.
So you do leave the 15.
Yeah. Yeah, there are 2 different 15s. I probably should change my numbers up a little bit, but yeah, there are 2 15s. This 15 and that 15. What does that give me? 45 and 26. Is that 71? Say number 3 then, yeah. That's the same? 3 asks how many in rock and jazz. No, it's not the same. And is different than or. And means what? Intersection. So I want to look at the intersection of rock and jazz. The intersection is just where they overlap. So I only want to add up the ones where they overlap. So which ones is that? The overlap of the rock and the jazz circle. Well, that's this 5 and that 15, isn't it? It's just 5 and 15 in that case. Which is 20. Is everybody okay on that? Number 4 question. How many liked rock or did not like classical? Rock or not classical? Well, again, it's all dependent on this. Or means union. Union means put everything in one with everything in the other, right? So I want to take everything in this, combine with everything in this. Okay. Do the union up here. All right. So what's in the rock circle? Well, it's the 10, the 5, the 15, and the 15. Okay, what's in the not C, the not classical circle? Or let me rephrase. Which ones are not classical? Which ones are the ones that are not classical? Well, the easiest way to do it is cover up the classical circle, see what you got. The not classical are the 7, the 20, the 15, and the 15. Now, here's the thing. I do want to combine those, but I don't want to count things twice. So yeah, the not classical is all these, but don't I already have some of those? I've already got the 2 15s, don't I? So let's get rid of them. Yeah, I'm just going to add up these right here, so I don't add things twice. So add up 10, 5, 15, 15, and that'll be our answer. 45 and 27. 72? Check me on that. 72. It is one more than that. Okay. Oh, we did. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, it's the same numbers except that's a 6, that's a 7. Oh, okay. Good point. All right.
So why
Question.
don't you count the classical within the circle itself and not count the jazz? Why isn't it asking you to count classical including the rock instead of the jazz?
This
That makes sense. Maybe not.
this is just what it asked for. It asked for not classical.
Right, so if it wasn't classical and it was rock, that's going to give you the 15 and 15 and 20. I don't know. Right,
Yeah, I mean,
15, 15,
right.
20.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, the thing is, this is an or which includes everything in both. So I've got to include everything in the rock. If it's in rock, I include it. So that, even though those are in classical, yes, they're still included because they're in the rock circle. And or means include everything in both sets. So since the 10 and the 5 are in the rock, they're included even though they are in the classical circle technically.
Because they could still like rock.
Yep. They like rock, so they're included.
But you included jazz in that. That's what kind of
Yeah.
confusing me because you.
Yeah, jazz, really, jazz just, if it's in the jazz circle, that just kind of comes along. It doesn't really matter.
Or just rock and classical, not jazz.
Yeah, I mean, these are included. The 20 here are included because they don't like, they don't like classical, right? These 20 here, they're in the not classical. Yeah, the 7, they don't like classical, so that's why they're included. Yeah. The reason the 20 are included is not because they're in the jazz circle, it's because they're not in the classical circle. They're in this category here, outside of the classical. Okay. All right, what are we on? Number 5. How many like classical and not jazz? Well, let's just put up here the numbers and then we'll talk about it. The classical ones are what? 14, 6, 10, and 5? And I'm not even going to put plus because a lot of those are not going to be here. The not, which ones are not jazz? Cover up the jazz circle. And it's really getting, let me see if I can clean this up a little bit. Because my hands erased several parts here. Okay, a little better, I think. Okay, which ones, just tell me which ones are not jazz. Which numbers? We'll cover up the jazz circle. What do you see? 7, 14, 10, and 15. Because those are in the jazz. I cover up everything that's in jazz.
They also like the classical.
Okay, well, we're getting to it. All right, so that's just these parts. Now, I want to and those together. And means what? And means intersection, which means the overlap. So in these sets, I'm only looking at overlap. Which ones overlap? 14 and 10. So the answer here is just the 14 and the 10. It's 24. See the difference? And is the overlap of the two. If this had been or, what would I have done? I would have added it all together. Or would have been all of them. But this is just and. You see.
So you're adding just the numbers that overlap, not the
Yes.
ones that are left out.
That's right. Just add the ones that are in both sets. That's the intersection. And means intersection. Or means union. Say that to yourself 20 times. Okay? It'll help. I hope.
Number 6 has none of these.
Yes. 6 and 7 are a little different. So we're kind of changing gears. How many liked at least one of the three? Well, the deal is there. At least one means they liked one of them or they liked more than one of them, right? So you just have to figure out which parts are that. So let's just start there. At least one means they liked one of them or more. So which ones liked one of them? How many of them liked one of the three of these? Well, 14 of them liked classical. They didn't like jazz, they didn't like rock, so they liked just one of the three. So that would be included. 20 of them liked jazz only. 15 of them liked rock. So those would be included. What else would be included here? Since those liked one of the three, what else would be included? Well, how about the 6 here? Wouldn't those be included? Because how many did they like? They liked classical and jazz, didn't they? So they liked 2 of them. So I'd add the 6. I'd add the 10 because they like 2, and then I'd add the 15. And any others? What about the 5 right in the middle? How many did they like? They liked 3 of the things, didn't they? They liked all 3 of them. So I'd add those 2. See why I'm adding those? These ones liked one of them only. These liked 2 of them, and this one liked all 3. These liked all 3. So how many is that? 20, 30, 85.
Didn't you just subtract it to 7?
Aha, yes. I was just thinking that. Since I added all these up, it's everything but the 7, which there was 92 of them, so subtract 7. That's another way you could look at it.
For other questions, would it be the same or would it be?
Well, it just they'll all be different. So there's different ways of doing each one of them. They're all different, probably. These are just samples. Okay. All right. How many liked fewer than 2 of the mentioned? Well, if they liked fewer than 2, they could have liked one of them, or they could have liked none of them, right? That's what that means here. One or none of them. How many of them liked 1? Well, that was the 14, the 20, and the 15. How many liked none of them? That was the 7, right? So I'm getting, see if you leave that, 14, 20, 15, and 7. Is that okay? 34, 49, 56. Thank you. So yeah, this is just a sampling of how they might ask it. They might ask how many liked at least 2 of them, or how many liked fewer than 2 of them, or fewer than 3. So the numbers vary, but this is an example of what you might come upon in a few of these survey problems. So you'll not only have to draw the Venn diagram, but you'll have to ask the questions. They usually won't have this many, I don't think. Some of them have several questions, but all right.